Tell us, what are the dynamics right now in terms of the unemployment extension, whether or not to boost it, whether or not to extend it? Where does that stand right now?
Yeah, unemployment is its own challenge right now. Obviously, it has a $600 additional per week per person that's in the program. It's been exceptionally messy in a lot of states like my own and others that are trying to get the program up. Now it's headed towards the end. That is July the 31st. We're now right at 2 months away from that program fading away. At that point, there's a lot of decisions to make. States like mine, that is now in phase 3 of reopening, that we have a very small number of cases still left in the state. Most of our businesses are open again and still functioning. There's not a need to extend $600 additional per week to those folks on unemployment. There may be an additional need to have longer term unemployment depending on how companies turn around, but there's no need for it in that spot. Other states are slower to be able to reopen. The other challenge that you have is there's some conversation about, do you incentivize people to be able to come back to work, to be able to have a lower amount, but they come back to work, but they still get some additional check on that. Obviously, it's very difficult for states to be able to do, as we've already seen states trying to be able to figure out how to be able to process the first round of it, some of them taking 2 months to be able to get all of this software in to be able to process the first $600. To change that again may take another month or two again for that system. So functionally, it's hard. In addition, that's very difficult because now you have maybe a quarter or half of the employees stayed in a workplace, another half were laid off. Sometimes in some of those places, the people that were laid off actually made more money on unemployment than they made on employment. If we paid them an additional amount to be able to come back to work, again, they'd be in the same situation. Now they're coming back to work and they're still making more money than the person next to them at the job. So there's lots of additional issues that we've got to be able to think through on this to be able to get it right. The deadline to be able to have a decision on this is obviously July the 31st. But whenever this gets done, if there's going to be a change from what we've already put into place, it'll have a month or two before the states can actually implement it. So it's going to be deep into August and September before that could actually be implemented in the states because of archaic software that's there.
After the additional $600 was approved earlier, since then it sounded like a lot of opposition with Republicans on that. Is there enough opposition to kill that extra $600, you think?
I'm not going to try to predict where things go on this. We still have another 2 months of conversation on it. There's a lot that's happening in the economy right now. And the opposition to it initially was people literally could make more money on unemployment than they made on employment, and it creates a disincentive to engage, and we've seen that. I've seen that all over my state as I talk to employers and small businesses, that they love their employees, they care about them and their families, they want them to be able to do financially well, but they know if they bring them back, they're actually going to pay them less. So while they could turn them into the state unemployment office and say, I've offered them a job back, they're no longer eligible for these benefits. They don't want to do that, but they could, because it's not legal to still have unemployment benefits if you've been offered your job back. Because every week you have to reapply and to verify, I don't have a job offer. But if they do have a job offer, now the employee is falsifying a record just so they can make more money. The employee and the employer is trying to figure out, are they really going to come back in August? It's made for a very difficult situation for everyone. And people turning in false records to a state office creates its own dynamic as well that we don't want to perpetuate.
Another matter, Secretary Esper said today that he does not agree with the president's notion of using U.S. military troops to patrol American cities in these protests. What are your thoughts on that issue? And also, are you concerned if he is disagreeing with the president that his job might be in jeopardy?
No, I don't think there's a problem with his job being in jeopardy. We have 17,000 plus National Guard in 28 states and the District of Columbia that have already had an activation of the National Guard. So there is this fine line to say active duty military or National Guard. National Guard is really the one that should take that role. They're a quasi-military, they're not though, they're state National Guard, but they're the ones that can step up and assist. They live in that community, they function in that community, they're neighbors with folks that are around them. They're the best ones to be able to do that. They've already trained and prepared. And so I have no issue with National Guard continuing to be able to maintain their role, the 17,000 plus that have already been activated.
Thank you.
Sure.